Oh, what's going on, YouTube? It's Donnie B all day. So, bringing you something Damascus-y today. I'm going to be gone for a couple days, so I need something to hold you over. So I figure it's got to be big, right? And, you know, if you want a big knife, you got to go Dundee style. And that's what we're doing today with the Timberwolf. What's it called? The Timberwolf. Man, I didn't want to have to look. The Wolf Golden Stag Bowie. It's really hard to remember that. All right, so the Golden Stag Bowie by Timberwolf. These things they retail for about 85, 90 bucks, but I found them for around 40 to 45 bucks, which for a knife this size, as long as it goes good, is going to be fantastically priced. So let's take a look at this fantastically blade. Later. All right, so this, my friends, thanks, Vanna, is the sweet, ooh, that's some good leather, sweet package of the, yeah, baby, would you look at that? Yeah, baby, would you look at that thing right there? It actually feels pretty good. It feels pretty hefty. I wasn't sure what to think with Timberwolf Damascus, you know, budget blade Damascus. But, man, it's got a good feel. How the tang is going to hold up to some beating, I have no idea. But let's do this sheath real quick. I like it. It's just a big, thick leather sheath with a big loop on it. It's done well. Like a lot of leather sheaths, they do the why the hell do you do that? And they put the strap going edge side, but you kind of understand it on this one because there's no top guard. So really, the only way to do it would be to do it there. But again, it is a big knife. It's 15.5 overall with a 10.5 inch blade, which means it's not falling out. It's big enough. So you don't really need the strap if it's on your side. And besides, then you have a quick deploy. So let's get into some of this guy. I just told you pretty much all the specs that it actually lists. We are looking at a 10.5 inch Damascus steel blade, a 15.5 inch overall length, a bone handle with brass accents, sheath included. That's literally all the specs they give you on this blade. Looks like it's about 3/16. So it's not a very fat blade, especially with a blade this size. I would rather it nice and thick. It does have a fuller in it, which is nice. I prefer a big fat fuller. If you're going to put a fuller in there, put a fuller, not a halfer. I don't understand that. The ricasso on this thing is huge, which takes away a lot of cutting edge. But I mean, I could literally put one finger, my middle finger, around the guard, and my index finger is still on the ricasso. That's a big freaking ricasso. And the reason for that will come to me when somebody tells me, because I have no idea why the hell you would do that, why you would need such a big ricasso. With a finger like this is how you measure a ricasso. If your finger can fit on there, around there, that's all the ricasso you need. You go right out to it. This thing, it's a little overkill. It is swedged, not sharpened. I do like that. I prefer swedged over sharpened. And it's attractive. The pattern is really nice. Really nice. And is it a true Damascus, you wonder? Or is it fake Damascus? You can always tell by the sharpened edge. And the sharpened edge, you can see the Damascus in it. All right? So that makes it pretty simple to figure out. It's all tight. It's good. You have, you know, your brass guards with accentuated finger guard and heel. And when you're talking about a bone handle, you want something to be able to catch the rear of your hand. This thing does a fantastic job at catching the edge of the hand. Here's the deal. On this style of knife, we all know how they're built. Usually the tang will come in and be square to a certain point and then have a rat tail to hold this on so it screws on. Some of them end pretty much right at the hilt right here, and then it's just one big rat tail. And I don't know what this is. It could be that. I don't know. But knowing that, even if we knew it was like a hidden tang, like the Down Under knives, Down Under knives does a full hidden tang with this tiny little rat just to hold this on. They're built very, very well. Most of the budget ones I've seen have a partial tang with a full rat. So I don't know what's in here. Obviously, I'm not going to take it apart to figure it out. If it breaks, it breaks. But knowing that I don't know, knowing that it could have a weak spot, tells me this. And this is where people get it wrong and they break their knives that are built this way and they think, oh, rat tails suck. Rah, 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 rah. People will hold the end of their knife right at the pommel when they're doing their swings because momentum equals chop power, right? The farther back you are on the knife, the more chop power you're going to get. So if I put my pinky on the outside and I start chopping, that's going to give me my most momentum. It's going to give me my most chop, and it's going to give a superior amount of wood chunk flying off everywhere. The problem is now you're putting all the stress on that little rat tail. If there is a little tiny rat tail, and that's with the Down Under knives, a lot of the people that have damaged their knives have done so by holding the rear of the knife and putting all the stress on that one tiny little area that's not supposed to have stress on it. The way I bent mine was throwing it into a tree sideways. Oh, don't do that. So when you're holding a knife, especially if you don't know the tang and you're doing chops, hold it as close to the guard as possible. I mean, really close to the guard. That way, if you're looking at a partial tang, you are putting all the stress as close to the actual blade itself. And that's a little smarter. It'll keep your blade alive longer. Speaking of blade alive, let's see how this edge is. And it's sharp without a doubt, but is it shave sharp? Nah. Nah, not really. Not really. I broke some hairs. Not shave sharp out of the box, but it's sharp. It's sharp. But we need to take it outside. We need to swing it at some stuff and see if we can use it without breaking it. And here's the deal. This is a really nice blade. If by chance this thing breaks, it's 10.5 inches. We are making a 4-inch handle, and I am going to have a 6.5-inch blade or a 4.5-inch handle and a 6-inch blade, because even if I break it today, this part right here isn't going to be the part I break. I can almost guarantee that. If I break it, it's going to be somewhere in here, and if I do, it's going to turn into a 6-inch big belly full. It'll be a full tang blade if I break it. So, and then all this will go to waste. So that's it. Let's get out there and hope we don't break it. All right, come on. All right, so here we are at the old stump. Let's see. Oh, yeah, baby. I have faith in the blade. I just don't have faith in the construction. So I like to do a balance test with a 4-foot drop. Usually it's kind of useless on giant blades because they always, almost no matter how high you start from, they always drop straight. So let's do a couple hard downward throws and we'll see if there's going to be any tip or construction issues on downward throwing. Ooh, I heard it whip. It went right by me. All right, so that's good. All right, so we know it's not shave sharp, but is it cut the nylon rope sharp? And we are going to put that down. And I'll tell you, it's sharp, but it doesn't act that way. Like when you run your thumb across it, it's sharp. But I had to saw. Does it cut the nylon rope? Absolutely. But I had to saw the nylon rope. And you shouldn't have to saw through something as hard as I did. If you can't do a push cut, it should just take a couple drags and you should be able to get through. That one took a little bit longer to get through. I have to say that the stag, what is it called? Golden Stag, is really attractive. I'm kind of impressed with the stag. It's nice. They did a good job on it. I like the spacers. I can see some pitting just a little bit inside the brass. But I mean, I've had this sitting for quite a while, getting ready to be done up here. So speaking of done up, let's do it up. Let's do it up, y'all. Right through the knots at the bottom. And you can see it's all knots at the bottom. But it handled it. It handled it no problemo. Let's see. All right, I do like that. I do like that. All right, let's see here. Let's see if I can't get it to stand up. If not, I'm gonna have to do a hold and swing here. That was so weak. All right, just kind of shoved it. There we go. There we go. So we know without a doubt in our minds that this thing is not only going to split your wood, but you are going to be able to process said wood. So if you have some wood, you need to process it. This guy will do the job right here. So making a fire consists of big pieces and small pieces, you know, not just a bunch of logs. So you need to make sure that your knife is going to be able to give you little tiny pieces and not just shatter them as you try. And so this thing is doing a pretty good job of knocking wood down. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see what we can do here. Oh yeah, here we go, here we go, here we go. So can we feather with it? Oh, I'm starting to knock them all down. I'm making some really, really nice curls, which is important. Which is important if you're trying to camp and make a fire and things like that. So let's see here. Trying to keep some of them on there to give you a better show. But this stick is really freaking dried out. So they're kind of just chiseling away. The good thing is they're chiseling away right where I need them to chisel. So, I mean, you can see how tiny, like, they're really curled up. So it's doing its job. It's doing the right thing. And I got to appreciate that. All right, well, let's take this guy right here. Get rid of these guys right here. And not so freaking bad. So the edge could definitely use some work. I can feel it in the edge. It could definitely use some work. That said, it's getting the job done. It's like I can't show you the amount of effort I'm putting in to doing these tasks. Some knives just breeze right through. This one is not breezing right through. This is kind of a pain in the butt to get these simple tasks done. And when you see these videos and you see all these tasks, and it's like the same tasks for every knife, it's the same tests, you know, you want to be able to see, you think, oh, well, all the knives can do it, every knife can do it. Not every knife is the same, and this one is proving it. While it's beautiful, a beautiful, beautiful knife, this is not, as is, the knife I would choose to bring as my big camp knife. No way. This is going to be in rotation for around the house knife, and I'll use it for like verses and things like that. But it is really, really subpar as far as a sold edge. I mean, really, really subpar. But let's see what we can get as a chopper if it's above subpar, because so far I am a fan of the package, the overall look. I love the style. I'm a big Dundee blade fan. but so far, and I got some oxidation going on there, which I didn't notice already, but that's something I'll be able to clean up easy. But it just tells me that the knife doesn't hold well either. All right, so we need to find something we can chop, and I have a lot of things. I just want to find something good and thick and hard. So hold on a second. All that walking around, we're right back where we started. I'm just going to use the big log, the big hard log. And again, I'm going to swing. I'm going to use kind of an okay grip, and I'm going to swing from the top of the handle just to minimize the risk in here. Oh, right away, off 2 chops, I have loosening. Off 2 chops. You see this? I think you can see that. So I'm wondering if I'm gonna loosen it, I might as well at least try. No, I can't just twist it off, and that's what I was hoping to do, is just twist it. Twist it off, baby. So right away I can tell you that this thing is not a very sturdy knife. The Timberwolf Damascus itself, the steel itself, I'm not having an issue with. It's the construction of the knife. So let's see here. The blade itself doing the job, but it's getting, look at this, it's getting even more and more loose as I play with it, and that is really making me want to break it on purpose. I'm not going to. I'm going to let nature take its course. I don't think I will. Maybe I will. Who knows? I wish I could just twist off this pommel and get a look at what's going on. Oh, wait. I got it. All right. Let's see what's inside. Ooh, this is like finding an Easter egg. Hey! All right, so that doesn't look very good. There's some glue on here, and the glue isn't very good because I just twisted it off. But it's a screwed on pommel like it should be. The problem is I'm seeing a nut right here, and that nut I'm assuming is what's holding this on, and it's covered in glue. But I don't know if I can't twist it off. But this little nut right here has got to come off or be tightened, but this doesn't feel like it's moving at all. It's just this. So I don't even know how this freaking loosened, unless it's just sitting on there with glue, and that's it. So this knife, while it didn't fail completely, it's still in my book a fail, just because it didn't loosen up like when you see like the Wild West style knives, like the Cisco's and even the Cold Steels. You'll see those guys get loose there, but it's just because those things are just glued on. They're just glued on, and that's it, or they'll put a little tack weld, and it doesn't really matter. It's just a big brass S-guard that's thrown on there. This is part of the build. This is part of the knife. It's not supposed to do that. So let's do this. Let's do this, my friends. Let's give it a good 5 yards. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Wow, I put a big dent into this thing, hitting it. And let's see. Don't walk in front of this here, dog. Oh. So I damaged my, I lost the pommel. I think I'm just missing the target because I'm throwing downward at it, but at least there I was closer to getting, there it is, to getting the edge around. I just had to back up, really. Let's try that again, even though the log slipped over. All right, well, the pommel's gone. It's around here somewhere, obviously. I just need to find it. Let me try doing a nose spin. There we go. There we go. So, does it throw? Yeah, I wish I didn't lose the pommel because I'd use it for another, I would use it for another build if I'm going to take this thing apart, and I think that's what I'm going to do, is take it apart and make a real knife out of it. This is kind of disappointing, but kind of not at the same time. I like the blade. I like, oh, here it is, here it is. I like the overall aesthetics. I like the handle. I just think that the construction overall is going to be very, see how this nut is in front of here? What that tells me is that this is holding this on, meaning I believe this is going to be a longer rat tail. And you can hear that doink. It's because things are just loosening up like crazy. It's not good for that. That's why on my, on my down under, I ripped off from here back, and I pinned a wooden handle on the end, and just, it's superior now. It just won't ever break, and I'm happy with that. This one right here, I really want to get into the meat and potatoes on this guy because I just don't trust it. Hold on here. All right, so I decided, screw it. Let's unscrew it. So let's see what happens when we take this little nut off. All right, get that over there, get that over there. And I don't know if this is going to be very difficult to pull off. Don't ever do what I'm doing and grab the blade and pull, because if you slip, you're going to slice your entire hand open, and that's just bad juju. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. I don't think this is, there's a lot of glue in there, which is good. I would like, I like to see that, but I really want to open this thing up, and I don't want to damage this in case I can reuse it by making it wider and slipping an actual tang in there. Oh yeah. All right, so it is not coming off without me doing some kind of prying and all that. So I'm not going to bore you guys with that effort. I'm just going to let you know that we are looking at least a rat tail that goes into the bone. So that means all of this area, at least all this area is just that little screw right there. Yeah, man, I wish it was different. All right, so this is what I did. Is I'm trying to get this stuff off so I can try and figure out exactly how deep this goes. So what I did is I took a bandsaw, and I went in between the bone and I think this is leather. And I actually did a good job because I didn't touch the bone pretty much or the leather with the bandsaw. And what I'm seeing is exactly what you would hope to not see, and I'll show you as soon as I can get this thing off. If I reuse this, I'm going to rip the bone in half and make scales. Look at this. Look at this. That is straight up just a round piece of stag, and that is glued in there pretty well. That's the only positive, is that the stag is glued. But what I think I'm going to end up doing is cutting a perfect line and separating the scales and separating the bone and using them as scales instead of a push through. So that is what you're looking at on this knife. It looks like the rat tail is going to go all the way down, probably until right here is where it starts. It's going to start right at the end of the brass. Most likely, because generally when you see that kind of stuff, that's exactly how they're built. And I was hoping I could just twist it. But even though I hung it over the stove for a little while and heated it up to try to loosen the glue, it's still not working. I have to say, though, the Stag is pretty good quality. I like the bone. The bone is very nice. But this, nope. And, you know, it's hard to knock. Oh, wait, I got it. It's hard to knock all rat tails, because you think about the Roman gladius swords, right? Back long ago, those were rat tails. A lot of people don't know that. The Roman gladius was a rat tail. They just made them a lot better. A lot better. Okay, so now I see what's going on. They did a partial hollow just at the end, and then straight up rat tail. They threaded this thing on there. Instead of drilling and pushing, they threaded it. That's why I couldn't just pull it off. It was on there. It's on there really good. So this, when you buy a Timberwolf knife, look at this. They hollowed out the entire thing for that. Why does that need to be hollowed? I figured it was going to be covered in glue. There's glue right here. The glue wasn't touching this. All it was this being threaded on. Wow. How cheap is that? That makes it harder to use as scales, because now I have two hollow pieces. I can still feel the tang is nice and hot from the stove. Let's see. I'm going to try and twist this off. I could not imagine being the guy that paid full price for this. Wow. So this is what was holding on the guard. And you can see it's just chipping away. That's what was holding it all on there. And that's why it loosened very, very quickly. So you could see that the guard, it shows the hole. When you look on the outside, it shows this, right? And you're thinking, wow, that's a good fat freaking tang right there. But then you'll notice, then they carve it out, and once it's inside, to really put one over on you. And when you're buying one, this is what you're buying right here. You're buying that much blade. That's it. The tang doesn't even count. You can't count that as a tang. The rat tail, the entire thing's a rat tail. So what I think is going to happen is I might even use this little piece and carve up this way into it, then down. That will give me just a little bit extra. I don't have a tape in here, which I usually do, but I'll start from here, and I'm going to come up, and then my tang is going to come that way. So my scales will be part of this most likely, unless I just go from here. But I'm going to repurpose this to turn it into a full tang knife and to make it an actual knife, because this part I like. From here to here is a good blade. From here to here is something you should never ever do. I think it's just cheap. It's disgusting how they do this. This is how knife makers dupe people, because you get all this Damascus steel, right? And they're saving money by not making it like this. But how much money are you really saving per piece? It would be so much easier and more cost effective to just carve out the full tang on the on a machine, cut it out instead of cutting and then tack welding this garbage rat tail on there. Why? It's so much simpler, boop, just to make it full tang. Putting on scales is a lot easier than hollowing out pieces to slip on. It's so much easier just to make a real knife. So when knife makers decide we don't want to make a real knife, it's extremely disappointing. So you are going to see that this blade is going to go from extremely disappointing to extremely usable after what I do to it. And obviously it's not going to be today. I'm going to take my time and I'm going to figure out, I'm going to draw my pattern, and I'm going to turn this into a knife. As far as the Wolf Golden Stag Bowie, unless you are using it as a wall hanger for the beautiful Damascus and the very attractive bone, okay, go ahead and get yourself one. If you are buying it because you're thinking to yourself, I really need a cool camp knife and I love that Crocodile Dundee style, but I want Damascus, this is not your knife. This is not your knife. If you're thinking, I want to spend a little bit of money to get a nice piece of Damascus that I can turn into a knife, you know what I mean? So you think about it, once the handle is done, I'm going to have that much steel. Look at how fat that is, right? So it's going to come up here and drop in just like that. Boop, and my hand is going to rest right against there. So no more big fat ricasso. And that's it. That's it. Speaking of Damascus, I got some Damascus bar steel that I got a couple pieces. And I'm going to attempt to make some Damascus Tontos. And I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm going to do the same pattern that everybody else uses, just a swept Tonto. Maybe 12 inches. And I'm going to make one for myself. And I'm going to make one for sale if they come out great. But I got some really, really, really nice Damascus bar steel. So I'm going to use that. Going to make a couple Damascus blades. And we will see how that goes. And, of course, I'm going to do something with this guy. So, that's it. That's it. That's the whole kit and caboodle right there. I am Donnie B all day. Until next knife.